Hey, so the Pokemon Violet and Scarlet, that sounds weird. It's Pokemon Scarlet and Violet reviews, and the game, it's out now. So I just thought I'd kind of take a look over what people have to say. I mean, generally, when a new big Pokemon game comes out on the channel, I will go and do like a review roundup, taking a look at like the really negative reviews, the kind of positive ones, those that sit in the middle, and try and give you kind of like a critical consensus of what I guess kind of what the vibe check is on what these big new games are like. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I just want to kind of talk about what seems to be the kind of through line of all of these Pokemon reviews, in that they're all really, really promising, showing that this, and kind of along with Legends Arceus together, is possibly like the biggest push forward this series may have taken in years, which is really, really positive and something I'm excited about. But all of this progress does seem to have come at something of a cost, because Pokemon Scarlet and Violet seemingly run like shit. So yeah, it's easy to forget that Legend Arceus actually came out this year, back in January, and now 10 or 11 months on, we've got two new entries in Scarlet and Violet. And Game Freak's latest, at the time of writing at least, and depends if you care about such things, but yeah, at the time of writing, it's currently sitting at a 77 over on Metacritic, and that is actually one of the lowest kind of Metacritic score debuts, I guess, for any of the Pokemon games, in that generally they do a bit better, but depends if you care about such things. But yeah, I thought I'd just kind of go through some of the reviews and kind of pick out some of the issues that people are having, because it does seem that generally a lot of the reviews are mentioning kind of performance issues and graphical problems, and like just generally that these games aren't running as well as they should be. Alana Hagues over at Nintendo Life starts things off by just saying that Scarlet and Violet can look and feel rough when you're exploring out in the open world. And that's one of the things that makes these new games kind of so exciting in a way, is that, for the first time, I mean, Legends Arceus kind of played around with the idea, but these new Scarlet and Violet entries push it a little bit further, in that they are the first open world entries in the Pokemon series, and that's really, really cool. And it's one of those things that you want to see them do well, but it seems that the kind of performance issues that you get when exploring those areas make it really kind of noticeable, I guess, and distract you from what you're trying to do. She ends the review by giving it a 7 out of 10, but say that the kind of wildly inconsistent performance and visuals, are a problem for it here. And she adds here, we really hope Game Freak can figure out how to smooth out the series' ongoing performance issues, because they'll certainly rub up some players the wrong way. Lovely person Alex Olney also drops in on this review with some kind of second opinion, and says that he admires the devs for taking this kind of bold step and pushing the franchise forward, but the performance issues are really a sticking point, adding that the game rarely hits its kind of target FPS of around 30 frames per second. So yeah, disappointing really. There's another review here from Tom Reagan over at The Guardian. Poor performance holds an exciting game back, 3 out of 5. And this review just kind of underscores the issue even more. He notes that it kind of makes for a frustrating experience overall, that there's no shortage of good ideas in this game, but they're muddied by poor execution, meaning that one of the highest grossing entertainment franchises around feels jarringly cheap. And that's not what you want from these sort of games, is it? He adds here, it feels like a rush job. A Pokemon RPG yanked prematurely into a cruelly well-lit higher definition world. He concludes by saying, there's plenty of exciting ideas here. They've got an exciting new open world blueprint for the series, but it appears to have lacked the time and know-how to deliver it to spec. And that kind of brings me to one of the points I've seen in a few of the other reviews. Some of the reviews are kind of pointing the finger at the Switch's aging hardware and saying that, we're 6 years in now, and that's why this game is running poorly on the Nintendo Switch. And that's just not correct. I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. The Switch is old tech. It was old tech when it launched in 2017. But that's not to say, that you can't get good experiences out of this console. I mean, Tom's review on the Guardian even notes the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 runs on the exact same console, and Tears of the Kingdom, Bayonetta 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, even The Witcher 3. All of these games run on the Switch, and yes, some run better than others, but compared to the relatively simplistic kind of art style and art direction of the Pokemon games, when you compare it to these more kind of complex affairs that do run well, the point is a bit more apparent that, it's not the Switch's hardware that's the issue. It's probably more of an issue with Game Freak's kind of approach to their development cycle, maybe. I mean, obviously, I'm not au fait with how the Game Freak development cycle works, but I think it's fairly accepted that their transition to HD was a struggle for them, and the open world kind of concept that they're pursuing possibly needed more time to be a success. I think it would have been okay for Legends Arceus to... I was surprised it launched when it did, to be honest, in January. I think it would have been okay for that to have been this holiday's flagship Pokemon title, and for Scarlet and Violet to have had another year in the oven. Then we maybe wouldn't be in this situation. And just to kind of point out what one of the things I'm talking about, I saw this tweet here. I don't know if this will play here on the video, but let's have a look. Yeah, oof, the reviews aren't kidding about the terrible performance. I mean, and this frame rate here is one of the issues. There's pop-in as well with like certain elements. I mean, look, there's the stairs or whatever that is in the background, the bridge, sorry, popping in the background. And it just kind of highlights the frame rate issues and the kind of draw distance and things, and like those background. I mean, if you pause this and kind of go through the scenes, you'll see what I'm on about in terms of stuff. But I think it's fairly obvious from that clip that there are these issues aren't just like something one or two people are having. Next was a review from TSA, the sixth axis. That's hard to say. Jason Coles, who notes that what do they give it in the end? They give it a 7, saying that this is showing signs of being something really cool here. But it's got that weird vibe of a 20-something that hasn't quite figured out who they actually are yet, which I thought was quite amusing. But in the review, it does kind of note that I loathe marking games down for their performance issues, but Pokemon is one of the best-selling franchises in existence, and these kind of issues shouldn't be acceptable. And that's a fair point, I think. Pokemon as a whole is one of, if not the biggest entertainment franchises in the world. It's up there. So I think for people to expect a bit more from it is only fair. Next is Jordan Midler over at VGC, who notes that, these are the most feature-rich entries in years, and, they really are pushing things forward, but again, kind of highlights the performance issues. He starts off by saying, it's a series that rarely takes great leaps between generations, and that kind of brings me to my point of a lot of these reviews clearly want this game to be something better than it is, and these performance issues are kind of holding it back, it seems. Like Jordan said, this is a series that rarely takes these leaps forward, so when it does, it kind of captures your attention, and it seems that these performance issues are kind of distracting from what could otherwise be a really, really promising entry in the franchise, And I'm under no disillusionment that these games will do amazingly well. These games will be in everyone's house at Christmas. This is like the number one Switch game for Christmas, no question. These games will do fine. Hopefully Game Freak can sort out some of the performance issues before it lands under everyone's Christmas tree on the 25th next month, but we shall see. And it just feels like it's promising, but these performance issues are a distraction, essentially. Jordan goes on to note that, the game's frame rate is extremely inconsistent, with some battles feeling more like a slideshow, which is not something you want to hear about a game, is it? And he adds that, certain open world areas makes the game feel like it's about to crash, which again, isn't great. But yeah, that's what I mean. There's so much positivity in all of these reviews around it's bursting with ideas, and it's like I'm willing this to be like I want this to be great, but it's kind of getting in its own way with these performance problems. We were truly disappointed by how they run on the Switch hardware. So yeah, that was from VGC. The last kind of one I wanted to highlight was this review here on IGN from Rebecca Valentine, and she has plenty of good points in here around kind of what the issues are around it. She also mentions, just like Jordan at VGC, that the frame rate is all over the place and it dips to like agonizingly low levels in certain places. And one of the key quotes from this review is that she said it is by far the worst running Pokemon game that she has ever played, and among the worst running AAA game on the Switch so far, and that's with the day one patch. And she adds, like, what's saddest about all of this is that these issues frequently detract from what would otherwise be like Scarlet and Violet's most brilliant kind of like standout moments. These aren't just like one-offs. She adds that these issues are constant throughout the experience and interrupt almost every moment that is intended to like be spectacular or emotional or fun. And that's kind of what's sad about it, really, is that, there's stuff with like really cool ideas and new things moving the franchise forward. And she even notes here, Game Freak largely seems to have figured out what kind of open world design they want for it. And, they are embracing more modern RPG stylings with this game, which is really, really good, because this is a series that's long needed to kind of push forward beyond its kind of almost cookie cutter kind of experience over the last 25 years. It's played it safe. I think it's fair to say that Pokemon is a series that has played it safe. But yeah, it seems largely to me that all of these reviews have this kind of through line of like, this could be great, but it's being held back by performance issues. And those performance issues are not related to the hardware, it's related to the development behind it. And I think, that could be just to like a rush development cycle. It could be that, lacking in resources. I don't know what it is. Like I say, I'm not au fait with Game Freak's development process, but there does seem to be something here that's holding it back from greatness, which is a shame, because Pokemon's a great franchise, and like I said, they're not going to suffer for sales at all, but it would be nice to be able to say, yeah, this is amazing, and I didn't feel like with Legends Arceus. I thought finally they're doing something different, and I was glad for it, but the open world, or what was partially open world, it felt a little bit limited and a little bit basic and not much to do in it. But I was pleased to see them pushing things forward. I'm really pleased to see them pushing things forward again with Scarlet and Violet. It feels like little by little they're chipping away at what could be. I'm just hoping we get there at some point and they figure it out, because these games look like they could be a blast, but they're being held back by a rush development cycle. So yeah, they're out now. Let me know in the comments if you'll be picking one of these up. Which one, Scarlet, Violet, and I guess which starter you're going to have as well. I mean, everyone seems to be going for Quaxley, right? That seems to be the hot pick. But who knows? I quite like the cat one as well. I forget its name. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and peace.